the self-fulfilling nature of labels, and this kind of what you were just saying, I think leads into it. When you said accuser of the brethren, there's some people, and sometimes it's in good fun. It's not necessarily like they're evil intentions, but there's some people that will point out, everything. It's kind of like, you could kind of trip on a rug or something and not fall down, but you just kind of trip and you look around to see if anybody notices, and that one person, they notice and they call it out like, and they point it out, and they're like, label maker extreme or something. So yeah, I think there's some people that just are maybe the thorn in our side or something.
Oh, that's great.
So, but with this self-fulfilling, the nature of those labels, I think let's kind of flip this around on when we give other people labels. I think that we view, we can't help it, right? They say like first impressions are in 30 seconds or something like that, and so it's really hard to overcome those first impressions. But when we see, like, let's just say kids that come in, we can have a view of what that kid is. Mm-hmm. We can have a view that, that kid is, let's just say they're a troublemaker. And then we can have somebody else we can view, and I've had both of these happen to me over and over. But we can have somebody else and like, that's a good kid right there. That's a good kid. And what happens is because of, we talk about the glasses that you wear, the paradigm, you put on the glasses. Yeah. What happens is we have those glasses on, and so when we interact with those kids, that label that we have on them, even though we might be, I'll use this word for lack of a better one, we might be professional enough as a kidmin leader not to actually label them, not to let them know, or so we think. But the way that we interact with them,
that's good,
speaks to how we believe in them, or how we believe they are. And so when we think that this kid's a troublemaker, and I've been so guilty of this. We think that this Johnny is a troublemaker, so we come to Johnny, and every interaction we have with Johnny, we're a little bit shorter. Yeah, we're a little bit more, harsh, maybe. Like, sit down, Johnny, and we can act that way. And then yet, Susie, we look at her and we're like, oh, Susie's a good kid, and so our interactions towards Susie are like, Susie, let's go ahead and sit down, okay? And we change because of the label we've imposed. Yeah. And so it affects how they react.
That's good.
And that's the self-fulfilling part, is they start acting and responding how we basically, with body language and subtle references, tell them that they're supposed to act.
Yeah. So you take that troublemaker and you approach them with, more love and kindness. Yes. That's, you don't even have to say it, or do it in words, but, say, hey, I love you. You can say that's definitely important, but how you interact with them can, put a good label on them to where it's like, oh, you know what? Because lots of these kids, especially if they're coming on the bus, they're coming from lots of, broken situations.
Oh, yeah.
And
absolutely.
Throughout the week, through public schools, through, even some of their home lives, they're getting bad labels put on them.
Yes.
So when they come to Sunday school, they might be misbehaving because all they've been told,
is that's what you do.
That's what they are.
You misbehave.
Yeah. And so when us as, Sunday school staff, interact with them with love and compassion, that it could be like, oh wow, maybe powerful. I'm not, maybe they actually care about me. Like,
I used to years ago be administrator of our Christian school for a couple of years, and there was a young man he was like a troublemaker, but not, he wasn't like a hyperactive over the top troublemaker. He was getting more sneaky, kind of troublemaker. And so I was doing, we did a weekly guys class, young men's class. And I remember I did like a little series, and I was teaching, and I think I was talking about military and stuff, and I was teaching, and I remember talking to him a little bit, and he was very smart, and I saw this like potential in him, and I told him about it. I told him that I could see this potential. I'm trying to be a little bit vague because I don't want anybody to know who I'm talking about. But I saw that in him, and it was interesting because it was almost like, we say this term all the time, and I'm not sure exactly what it means, but it was like his eyes lit up. Mm-hmm. It was almost like he sat up a little bit straighter just in that moment. Wow. And I realized, just kind of this concept we're talking about, I realized, hey, he's a person. It's like, I had this imposed label on him, as did all the staff, that he was this certain way. But then I caught a glimpse of something inside of him that said, I want to be better. And I took that like, if somebody wants to be better, oh man, I can work with that. Yeah. And so I did. Good. I started to work with him, and he's a successful young man. Wow. This has been years ago, and so he now is. And it's not. I'm not taking all the credit for it at all, but I'm just saying that there was this kind of a turning point where I realized, wait, this person, they do want to do better. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about this too with youth. I've seen this just, in fact, recently. Our church is growing, and sometimes there's young people that come. We usually have guests pretty much every youth night that we do. We do a weekly youth night, and we have guests that come, and sometimes we have guests that come that just seem so uninterested. Yeah. So somebody just kind of recently that they came and they're kind of hanging out, and they came to a couple youth nights, and we were doing like a lesson, and they were just like, seemed so disinterested. And it was almost just like, well, why did you come? Well, now they want to be in the school. They want to get in our school. They've been coming to church regularly. Yeah. And they dressed up really nice the other night. And so sometimes I think that people put on a front too. Yeah. And so it's almost like they put a label up for us to see.
Oh yeah, it's true.
And so I think that, not all labeling is bad. No. But I think that we just got to be careful. We got to look deeper, Yeah.